What is the biggest issue the Niners must address this offseason?
And I think that this offseason, they're going to have to prioritize depth. And they've kind of taken this approach the last couple of seasons. They've trended towards it where it's like a stars and scrub type of team where we've got all these stars. As long as they're healthy, we're good. But the moment that they're not, you can see the depth is not there in a lot of different places. I mean, even in the secondary where it's like, we look at the secondary like, oh my gosh, look at all the guys they signed. It's a really deep secondary. Well, all of a sudden Womack's off the team and he's doing really good somewhere else. And then you're playing Isaac Yadam and guess what? He's not really good. Like there's not a lot of depth there. Linebacker, there was not a lot of depth there. Defensive line, especially in the interior, not a lot of depth there. They need to prioritize depth and just getting good football players that you can throw out in waves at these teams and keep everybody healthy and in a rotation and fresh. That's when this team's at its best. You're going to face adversity. You're going to face injuries. They're in a position where they're probably going to pay Brock Purdy, and they've got a lot of other expensive contracts that are going to be getting bigger and escalating over the next few years. You can no longer get the big name free agents, but you can get good guys on the cheap, and you can draft well, and you can build up the depth. So no more stars and scrubs. It's all about prioritizing depth for this team.
I don't know if you felt this way during training camp, but I definitely felt like watching training camp, which is largely like a display, or I don't know what the word would be, for the depth. It's a lot of backups playing all day. You get a good look at them. It felt like this is the thinnest team they've had since Kyle's been here, or since they've been good. They got good in 2019. I felt like this was clearly the least deep team they had, and I think it played out that way. So I'm with you on that. I think the way they're going to approach this offseason is they're going to take offensive line very seriously, assuming they don't trade Brock Purdy for J.J. McCarthy. Assuming they give Brock Purdy a ton of money and make the big investment that they did with Jimmy Garoppolo 5 years ago, or whatever that was, 6 years ago. I think they'll look at it as, we can't make this investment without investing in our offensive line as well. When they signed Jimmy in 2018, they went and signed Weston Richburg and then drafted Mike McGlinchey. Not that those were the greatest moves of all time, but at least that's how they operated. And I don't think they change anything about their operation. It's, gotten them 2 Super Bowl victories. So why change? I think that's probably going to be how they approach this one. Unless they trade for J.J. McCarthy, which I'm all in for. I can't stress enough how much I like this idea.
I really like the idea too, and it's almost a 0% chance it's going to happen. But that I'm going to hang on to the 0.5% that it is a possibility. I really
hell
like
yeah, yes. Okay, last topic, and then we'll get some super chats and bounce. Will Brock Purdy lose money by not playing this Sunday? Is there a scenario where he comes out of this game after not playing even less rich than before?
Yeah, I think there's this thought like, man, the last 3 weeks, he's definitely cost himself some money. And I don't know that that's true. But I'll just look at it from like a stock
the whole
standpoint.
team struggling. It's hard to put it all on one person.
Right. But can his stock drop this weekend by not playing? On the surface, I would say no. But let's say that they win and Josh Dobbs plays really well.
Yeah. And doesn't throw 2 picks in the second half.
That can't be good for Brock. I mean, this team shouldn't look just as good, and especially not better with the backup quarterback. It's still the same team with all the injuries. It's still a bad offensive line. It's still a bad defense. It's still, all the things remain. And all you're doing is taking your franchise quarterback out and you're inserting the backup who was the third stringer for a big portion of this season. So if this team looks as good or better, that is not good for Brock Purdy. I don't care how you slice it. That can't be good. So yeah, I don't know that he'll lose money per se, but can his stock go down? Yeah, I think it can.
Let me ask you this. If Josh Dobbs throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and wins, will the Niners give him $60 million a year?
Absolutely not. He won't even be on the team next year.
I mean, those are good vibes.
But
Good vibes.
Should
You win
they?
the last game of the year. Clearly, that means that you're going to lead the team the next year. I'm just saying, the Niners like making snap decisions and going with their heart.
He did have a Jimmy G moment. Last play against Seattle, came in, got a touchdown last week, and then this week, if he can, I mean, this is his Jimmy G moment right here. You never know.
This is it. The Dobbs era. Yeah, you're right. Like this, Dobbs isn't really going to make himself much money in this performance, although it's a little bit of an audition for the rest of the league. Maybe he'll come back to the Niners. I doubt it. Again, I think he'd probably rather leave at this point. Do you think they promised him something and then they didn't? Anyway, yeah. But if he plays well, then you look at Brock and it's like, dude, you're the problem more than we realized. Maybe Kyle was scheming it open, and maybe you're a huge impediment, and they've taken you as far as they can, and you're not going to get. Yeah. So if I were Brock, I'd be rooting for Josh Dobbs because I'm a good guy. But secretly, if he did bad, I'd be like, oh, that's darn. Too bad. But secretly, I'd be like, okay, good, because I'm going to get paid a lot of money. But I don't want to say that.
What do you think it's going to look like this weekend with Dobbs? Do you think it is going to look good?
Kind of. Yeah. I think it's going to. I mean, Arizona's not that good, and Jennings will be out there, and Pearsall's involved, and Debo's finally gotten kind of benched. And yeah, I don't think Dobbs is a good quarterback, but he's healthier than Brock, and he hasn't lost hella games this year. He may like have some confidence. I don't know. I can see it. And he was on the Cardinals, got the revenge factor. Don't forget the revenge factor. He is going to shove it in Jonathan Gannon's face. And Kyler's too. You thought you were better than me, Kyler? Why don't you put down the Xbox controllers and come see me on the football field? I don't know.
Pastor nuts. I don't know how it's going to look. Yeah, me neither. I don't know if I should trust this guy or not.
Dave says, let's dress up as T-Rexes and fight each other in the park. Oh, okay. I haven't done that in weeks. I don't know what you're talking about. Dave Barclay says, just realized more money in OnlyFans. Sickos. Hey, it's the world we live in. 9P says NFL is scripted. Jimmy will lose to the Seahawks so the Rams can play the 5-seed Lions in the playoffs. Also another Harbaugh Bowl for the storyline. Damn, 9-piece. You're on fire today. I'd like the Harbaugh Bowl. That'd be fun. Moises Rosales says, who would you guys bet for a Super Bowl winner if you had to put your life savings on and why? Life savings? Oh, Mahomes.
You
if it's life savings.
Go with Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah.
Bolts versus Ravens and Bengals making the impossible.
Oh, I don't know that the Bengals are going to make it. That's a lot has to go right for them.
Dave says Grant going to flat back Talanoa on BB court. I don't know what that means.
I don't. You mean neither. A little sketchy.
Kilo TW says Tatum Bethune has potential. What do you guys think? What do you think of a linebacker unit of Warner, Winters, and possibly Bethune could look like if it were to happen? Could be okay, but I'd like them to draft another linebacker like kind of high. Yeah. Bloodnut says I would love to get the sleeper app if they would give an over-under on how many times Kyle would get annoyed at Grant during a presser. That's messed up, Bloodnut. It's a fair question. Dave Barclay says, could I have bet on 7-10 if I wasn't in Montana? Not on sleeper app. That 0.5% chance for JJ is huge, Jess. Holding hope. Kilo TW says, since we already know Kyle and John won't draft any O-line, would it be a smart choice if they trade up for Abdul Carter or Mason Graham?
I mean, can't go wrong with defensive line, pass rusher, but I don't know, man. Maybe this is the year, guys, where they're going to go offensive line. They can get their new Mike McGlinchey. You never know.
Monty says, Grant, you go to school with any Samoans? Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Especially at Montera Middle School. But also at Bishop High School. All day, every day. Kim says, Josh throws game-losing pick at no difference than Brock.
So basically saying it's the same.
Yeah, it's true. Weren't you just talking about basketball in Talanoa? Yeah, but you were talking about flatbacks and stuff. I don't really know what that means or what it
I don't know what that means.
Implies. Yeah. Maybe it means something different in Montana. Is Kyle going to draft Scatty Boo? Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Yes.
He works out with CMC, so, he's known about old Scatterboo for a while.
Old Scatterboo.